money, you shall have the money. It's not that much anyway. I wish I would, maybe, I don't know if I would be so, it doesn't matter if it would be a few millions. Yeah, it's not little. I mean, I can be totally open to what I own in my bank account so that you know that you don't feel, oh, poor thing. I have 140,000 francs in my bank account, which, that I don't use. It's just there because I don't need it. Also, for the groups who always say, oh, we need to have more people because more down and all this. I don't need it, okay? So I know if Chippy would be here, her hair would go like this. Don't tell them that. I don't need it. It's good if you give it to me because it goes in the bank account and the people who are meant to get it, they're poor. Okay, so it's okay. And if I need it, I also use it, of course. But I need very little from that. Most of the pension I get in Switzerland goes there. That's why it's so much, by the way. Not from the Dana. Yeah. It is because I still had, and now I get 1,200 every month, which in Switzerland you wouldn't be able to survive on that, But it goes there, and this is why it increases. But also, Israeli Dana is very, very generous. You're one of the most generous ones, actually, I have to say. So you will get some of it, you get some positive merit because you're not only giving it to me, it will then also go to people who really need it. It will not go to family. They don't need it. But we can get attached to that. So it's important that you do now something, even you think you're young and healthy and all this, write it down what you want with this money to happen. Because then you say, okay, it's there. But then it's also, if nobody honors and respects it, that's it. But this would be my wish. And in general, the wishes of dead people are being respected. In general. Not always. So we have to be careful there. Okay? You see, we have no guarantee if the good karma that we have in this life will continue. At the time of death, it really depends what karmic imprint you are activating when you die. You can have heaps of positive karma. You die with anger and frustration. That's it. You will not lose your positive karmic imprints. You'll take them with you, but they will be latent because in a very suffering existence they cannot ripen. That's why it's important to train now. Right? If I would have to die right now, what would be the biggest thought in my mind? And what would calm me down? What would soothe? What would make me be able to die in peace? Yeah. And we all have to face that moment. And it could be the next second. His Holiness says in one of his talks, we think death is so far away. He says, or the next rebirth is so far away. He says, this life and your next rebirth is here. You breathe out, you don't breathe in again, that's it. Okay, very smart people say, oh, but there's the bardo. Yes, there is the bardo, okay, but it's part of your next life. You cannot go back to your last life if you're in the bardo. It's not possible. A guru, a lama can help you, can direct you if you have the possibility to think about that guru at the time of death, or even in the bardo if you take refuge. And if you understand that your guru is the Buddha, so you need to give from your own side your guru the ability to lead you in the bardo, otherwise he can't, even if he's a Buddha. So, yeah. So when people say, I don't need a guru, yeah, no, you don't. But at the time of death, and don't take me, okay? I'm not. I don't have capacities like this. I do not. I'm not a Buddha. I'm not lying. I'm not being humble. I don't have any of these qualities. Okay, 19. So he said, indeed, you foolish and afflicted mind, you want and crave for everything. This everything will grow and turn to suffering increased 1,000-fold. So again, it's about possessions, especially about money. There's always space in the bank account. When somebody wants to give me a present, like for example, somebody wanted to give me a present not long ago, and I said, well, I'm sorry, I'm homeless, I don't have a home, so please don't give me presents. I will either immediately give it away, or, what I prefer now is to give it back to the person, because then they can decide who they want to give it. Yeah, whereas they might see what I saw once, because that's what the lamas do with us. When we give with attachment for him to keep my very special crystal it was, that I gave him. It didn't take long until somebody that I didn't like into the group comes and says, look what he just gave me. Yeah, you have 3 guesses what it was. It was that crystal. I don't have the strength and the courage to do that. I do not have the courage to give somebody that I know you dislike, I have to give that present. So, but if you give me money, then it's like I never say no, because I can support the project, I can use it for myself. Money is never enough, is it? I do have enough money, okay, that's what I mean, but in the mind somehow there's this thing, this is what we have to change the money for Dharma, like Dharma should never be enough, I don't think any of us has ever had that, I have so much money, gosh, I have too much money, what shall I do with this? Yeah? What would be nice to have this thought, so now we can give it away already now, but I do keep it in case I need it, I have to be honest also. Because if I don't get support anymore and I can't teach, nobody wants me anymore at their home, then I have to rent my own place, and then I would need it, of course. For the moment, I don't. I could die before. So you see what I mean? So this is, make sure there's no attachment to money at the time of death, or to possessions or things like that. And don't spend all your time to amass it. That's basically also, to amass it, to just work to get more money. Take time out for retreats. That's basically what it says, because it's still about what is hindering us to go into long retreats. First it was attachment to family, now it's attachment to possessions. For people may have gained a wealth of riches, enjoying reputation, sweet renown, but who can say where they have gone to now with all the baggage of their gold and fame? Here it is 20. Although I may have much, here he talks to himself. Here it's more, he talks about, it's like this is why I say it's good to see different translations. Although I may have much material wealth, be famous and well spoken of, whatever fame and renown I have amassed has no power to accompany me after death. Queen Elizabeth, where do you think she is now, her mind? Where is all these, what were the soldiers or sailors, I think, from the Navy, who were pulling her coffin? 18 or something of them. Did they accompany her to protect her? Her family, her billions of jewels and blah, blah, blah. Some people, renowned and you get famous, but what does it help them if people talk about you still 1,000 years later? In general, they talk about people who were harmful. Hitler, Caesar, people who harmed a lot. Then you become really famous and you're still in the history books. Does that help you for your next life? When the kids have to learn about you and you died 1,000 years ago, what's the point? Yeah, so a bit like this. So he says, we spend so much time and we're so happy when we get it also, 8 worldly dharmas, isn't it? And then, but we can't take it with us. It's impossible. Cannot. It can help you, really. It can help you with the thought, I have so much money now, somebody else can enjoy it. That's a wonderful thought. That thought will be beneficial. And not just the children, but somebody who really needs it. It's so much more fulfilling. So if your kids don't have that much money, then of course it's nice to be able to say, oh, they can have my apartment, like a friend of mine who said, I live longer, because she had leukemia, I live longer than, my daughter can have my apartment. Because she doesn't have one. If I die now, she can have the apartment. If I live longer, I can still help her and be here for her. So it was okay for her. You know, with the leukemia, living longer, not living longer, it was all right. So if we can train this already now before it's too late, you know. She was not a Buddhist. She wasn't even a spiritual practitioner. She did yoga. So yoga can get you there, I don't know, you know. She was very interested in her body, in a healthy body. She did a lot of yoga, and it had an effect on her mind also, I guess, or imprints from previous lives. So she was interested in what I did. I gave her a book. She said, I don't understand. I thought it was very simple. You know, it was Color Rinpoche's, I think, Introduction to Buddhism. She said, I don't understand. Talking about this, if you have friends who want to know about how to create a happier mind, it's not always the best thing to send them to a Buddhist course. But there's the 16 guidelines who will start, 5th of November or something, in Body, Mind...
מרכז גוף נפש בהרצליה וגם במרכז ביפו יהיו שני קורסים בנובמבר. תראו באתר של בית חולים.
So you will find it on their website, and it's a very good program. It is Buddhist, basically, because it has Buddhist principles and Buddhist methods, but it's not presented as Buddhist. So it's very helpful. And then if people like it, maybe they will get interested in Buddhism, already knowing that it can be beneficial. So, you know, there's this kind of thing about it's religion. It's difficult sometimes. Yeah, and then people only hear religion instead of hearing what is being said. If it's secular, they hear from the beginning what is being said. With religion, people are very cautious. And I don't blame them, by the way. Not just, you know, like all the religions have really done some damage. All of it. Also Buddhism. Okay, next one, 21. Why should I be pleased when people... Now it's the next one. So that is, we finished with the possessions, right? We finished with friends and family. We finished with possessions. Now is praise and blame. So we're with these 8 worldly concerns still. Why should I be pleased when people praise me? Others there will be who scorn and criticize me. And why despondent when I'm blamed, since there'll be others who think well of me? If there's someone who despises me, what pleasure can I have in being praised if you don't have the qualities, for example? Yeah? And if there is another who praises me, what displeasure can I have in being despised? There is nobody, absolutely nobody, who is only praised or only blamed. It comes with life, you know. This is why I said yesterday, there is no country where everybody is happy with the government. None. Not one. Even if the government is very good. Nobody is able to have a government or to be a dictator of a country where everybody will be happy. Because they have this view, and these have this, and these have this, and this and that, and this and that. That's samsara. It's natural in samsara. Okay? But then we see, maybe that can be your homework, you know, for until next course. When is next course? In 2 weeks or in 3 weeks? 21st of October. Yeah, in 3 weeks, something like that. That can be your homework. See how we react to criticism and praise. And then, you know, especially the criticism, is it like 10 people praise you? One says, oh, no, I didn't like it. It's that one becomes so big, you know. Why? Why? Why do you think that is? Question to you. And we all the same. That's the funny thing. Everybody reacts like this. Me also. Yeah, you know. Why is that?
Because the mind concentrates on the negative things easier, I think.
Somehow I think I just had in my mind, yes, okay.
Maybe it's because we look for like perfection in samsara, and even if there's like one person who dislikes us, then it's not perfect, and we're very like so it's unstable.
I think our ego is so sensitive that you can pet it and everything fine, but the moment just a single
Yeah.
pain is
Yeah.
steps into it, then
Yeah.
you
I think it has to do with the ego, because when we're praised, the ego is also big, but it's not so apparent, and the ego wants to be seen, even if it's in a negative way. It wants to manifest. It wants to kind of always go, "Hey, I'm here, I'm here, I'm here. It's satisfying me, satisfying me." When you're praised, it's kind of, it's not so big.
It's never enough.
We don't, yeah,
It's
no,
not
not
enough.
really. I'm happy when I'm praised, but the feeling goes very quickly in a way, because the ego is not latching onto mine, is not latching onto it as much as to criticism. And also very low self-esteem, low self-confidence, you know. And we have become totally dependent on praise to reaffirm others that I'm okay. Now, don't go around and say, okay, I stop praising others because it's not good for them, they become dependent on it. It's not like this. We have to become independent of being praised, right? Praising others, if it's, what's the word? If it's sincere and realistic. Sincere and realistic. I was going relative. And see, this is what happens to my brain. I kind of know the word, but not completely. So going relative, really in a realistic way, kind of, and serene. Serene can be, maybe a mother is very serene in praising the child, but it's totally not realistic what she's saying. So this is why I prefer realistic. It's kind of, it's fine, but to encourage them is also fine. But don't go into kind of, don't make them dependent on the praise. If they make a mistake, yeah, okay, you made a mistake. I love you so much. This doesn't matter. It's not important that you made a mistake. You know? Everybody makes mistakes. And we have to learn that for ourselves first. Yes, you made a mistake. You're an idiot, of course, because you always make the same mistake. You will continue to make mistakes, but I still want you to be happy. I still want you to stay on the Buddhist path and go in the right direction. This is how I talk to me. I still deserve to be happy because then I can make other people happy as well. That's the only way. I almost have a duty to be happy, but really happy, serenely happy, not just blah, blah. Yeah? So judging myself and destroying myself because I made a mistake, it's okay. But I can criticize myself and say, that was not the right thing to do. That's okay. Yeah? When other people praise us, we can be happy because it's good for their mind. It's a happy mind that praises you if it's serene. And realistic also. Yeah? So it's okay to accept praise. Perfectly okay, and also to learn to accept it. Some people cannot, isn't it? Yeah, it's okay. But if it's unrealistic, I tell you, for me, when people, they don't know me, and they go, wow, you're so great, and this and that, it puts me under a lot of pressure that I have to be great now, because they don't know me. Yeah, and they will be disappointed. So you can put, with exaggerated praise, you can put people, or children especially, under stress. So the main thing is that you praise them and you say, but actually, you know, even if you wouldn't have succeeded, I would still love you. And not just words, please. You know, sometimes a gesture, sometimes inside from here. Well, for parents, it should be natural. No matter what you do, if you succeed, don't succeed, it's fine, you know. Isn't it? Were you supported like this by your parents? Yeah? Nice. And you say, well, not me, no, either, you know. They were both so preoccupied by themselves. I learned to be independent, so even that has a good thing, you know. Because as I said yesterday, my dad was very busy earning the money, had 2 jobs, day and night, and he was driving and he would fall asleep sometimes. At one point he had a head-on accident. My mom was busy spending it. So me and my brother, we became very independent. was 15. Can you imagine your children leaving home at 15 earning their money?
Even 25 was too early.
I was capable of doing that, huh?
I said even 25 was too early.
Yeah, right. Well, I didn't have an apartment and all this. I was an au pair girl. Yeah. And I was thinking this morning, because yesterday I said I never had this wish to have children. Maybe it's from there, because I was 15 looking after kids. Yeah, and one was a baby, and the other three, it was 4, the first job I had, to learn French. I think being totally non-attached to them, but I loved them. I mean, I liked them, okay? But kind of being afraid of them, that they don't like me, because the older ones, they did that. They were so manipulating. You know, kind of, if you don't do what I want you to do, then I do this, and it's like, it was so difficult. And so maybe that just killed the wish to have my own children. To see what children can do to you when you don't have attachment, then you see very clearly how children are. Maybe that's where I had this thought in the meditation. So you see what I do when I do shamatha meditation? I have thoughts that come up, and then I start to work with them, and then I let them go. And so, like that. But I also have thoughts in my morning quiet meditation. So this is this whole thing about praise. It is so tricky. And you see, the Tibetans, they're not used to praise. They, especially the gurus, they tell us when we cannot do something, still when we make mistakes. And then we run away, because we don't want only to hear the negative sides. So they have to change also to understand how Western minds work and how sensitive we are, and how we cannot take criticism, that, they have to become like the Japanese. Are you familiar with Japanese culture? Okay. Japanese, if they have to criticize you, they praise you first. So I was doing volunteer work when I was in Japan, kind of cleaning ashtaba roots. It's a bit like ginseng. And they have like the big one, and then there's very small ones. And for us, ginseng in Switzerland is very expensive. It's very valuable. So I was being very, very careful. So when others had a whole box full, mine was maybe like this, So then the boss there came and said, "Oh wow, you work so carefully. This is amazing, how you do. But, dakara, you have to work faster." So that's the Japanese. And the Chinese, I think, they say, if you shoot the arrow of criticism, you have to dip it into honey first. That's a Chinese proverb. And Max Frisch, who is a writer, he said, if you want to tell somebody an unpleasant truth, you have to first hold it up like a coat that they can just slip into. You hold up the coat for somebody, not like a wet towel that you sling around. So when you have to give criticism, take this image, the arrow in the honey, or the towel around the face, or the coat that they can slip. I always ask people, what do you think, when they ask me first something. Then at least I know already how much can they take. But it's very unpleasant. It's very unpleasant for somebody if you ask them, what do you think of me? It's very unpleasant. And then also I always say, this is just what I see, but this could be wrong. But it's not so pleasant. I'm a coward, I'm afraid that you don't like me anymore after that. Is that kind of... So let's see what Pema Chodron says. I'll read that, because I have her commentary here. Here Shantideva addresses again the 8 holy concerns: praise and blame, pleasure and pain, renown and not being noted, gain and loss. He asks why one should be happy when one is praised, or unhappy when one is judged, as there are always people with different opinions, and yet we are constantly chasing these very things or want to escape from them. The pull of Shenpa. Shenpa, again, is this energy. David knows, because he knows, not many people. It's a very good Tibetan word that cannot be translated into one word. It's when attachment is there, and there's an energy, or also aversion, by the way. And this, the karmic imprint from before, that ripens that same emotion. It gives you that energy that forces you to go towards the object in a pleasant or unpleasant way, or like taking it or pushing it away. Shenpa. That is the motivation. And we know when we hear with karma, you need to have a motivation. It's not the motivation here. It's this inner pull where it's very difficult to control. And we have to, this is why we need awareness, so we can catch it at the beginning before it goes into action. Yeah? Shenpa. Try to remember it. And it's so good to recognize when you feel it, you know. Yesterday somebody asked about food, addiction to food. When you feel the Shenpa coming, it's so valuable to know the word for me, to be able to label it. Ah, Shenpa. How do they say it? How did Rick Hansen? Name it, then you can tame it. Feel it, you can heal it.
In Hebrew it's dachaf.
But you know, the word is just for that energy. So it comes together with the whole definition. When delusions come up, which come from previous imprints, and they arise and they give you energy to do something. That's one word for
Before the action. It's,
Huh?
it's like between the thought and the action. That's
Yes.
Shenpa.
No, the Shenpa is not. The Shenpa is already the reaction. Yeah. No. There's a small gap between the Shenpa and the action.
Ah.
But Shenpa is not the gap. Shenpa is the gap is the awareness.
Yeah, okay.
Shenpa is the pull, the instinct.
And the instinct. Push and pull.
Yeah.
Geshe Dandula says, uses the...
Who? Geshe Namjoon. Okay.
It says push and pull.
Okay. Yeah, this one. And if we don't notice it, it will go into action. And it creates more karma. So for me, it's a very good word. Pema Chodron uses it a lot. She explains it once, and then she just uses the word. This is why also I left it as Shenpa, because it's her commentary.
There's a YouTube where she speaks about Gurdjieff, the spiritual teacher who used to hire people and put them into groups to work with their Shenpa, like to annoy everybody on purpose. And,
Yeah. Well, you know, I mean, to work with your delusions, there's kind of 5 steps, isn't there? First you notice them, you allow them, you apply, only then you apply them. You allow them without reacting, you look at them, you notice them, you allow them. You apply an antidote, you go to the other side, you try to see the other side of the other person, you release them into their nature because you've already become, you're not in the delusion, you are just watching it. You try to find the essence of it, you can't. You release them into their nature, emptiness, and when you're good at that, you go into groups that annoy you. To train. Because we need to constantly train. Otherwise we lose the ability to release it into their nature. So these are the 5 steps. Maybe in the Open Heart Day we'll talk about these 5 steps. This is also not from me, this is from Lundrup Tinman. Unfortunately his book is not translated into English. He's German monk, psychologist, psychiatrist, doctor, with a long retreats, Kagyu, Gedun Rinpoche, disciple. He's wonderful. The way he explains things, because he knows both sides. You see, when people ask me questions that are for psychologists, I don't know. I can give them Dharma answers. I can't give them psychology answers. And it's not exactly the same. Don't go into that. Don't go there and say, oh, it's the same. A lot of it is similar, but it's not the same, because the goal is different. Psychology wants to make you happy now. Buddhism says happy now is not important. You go look for the future. Yeah. So this is, so these 5 steps, very good to really make the steps. And but I've translated what he says also into English, so then I'll be reading commentaries, not having to give you my deluded view on this thing. because he's really, really, really good. Anybody's, it's called Buddhist